everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to do the Finish the Book tag. So I was low-key tagged for this by Steph from Steph's Romance Book Talk. She did this tag and then tagged a bunch of people on Instagram with this tag, and so I decided, hey, it's a fun one, I will do it. I loved hearing her answers, and it just talks about how you your system with books. So what do you do when you finish a book? So let's just get into the questions. So the first one is, do you keep a list of the books you've read? Yes, I do use Goodreads, and I started using Goodreads in 2012, but not not religiously like I do now. So I would say it's pretty accurate for the last 3-ish years. I know there's a lot missing that I have read, but as far as currently, everything I've read is on Goodreads. Number 2, if you record stats, what stats do you record? So I know people who have spreadsheets and all the things about stats, and I would love to do that, but I just don't. I just don't care that much, I guess. I think it's really fun to hear and to know, but I just don't do it that much. So what I do is every month I do a wrap up, and I am increasing how many stats I talk about as I go. So what I'm currently doing is my star rating, the average, what the average is on Goodreads, what year it was published, the number of publishers or the publishers that I'm reading from, and how many are on my shelf and how many are not. I think that's it. I think those are all the stats I currently keep, just because those are the things that I feel are I would see and then make a change maybe. The publication year, it's an odd balance. I am trying to read off my shelves, and so I read a lot of backlist, but I also want to know what all the hype is about in new books, and so I find that really interesting. The publishers, as I get more into booktube and not really, sort of bookstagram, relationships with publishers are really interesting to me, and so I'm just curious as to who I'm reading from, and then I can kind of keep an eye out for their new releases. Where I get books too. I also do keep track of that. So NetGalley, digital from the library, physical from the library, physical from my shelf, Kindle Unlimited, all of the Scribd. I want to make sure that I pay for Kindle Unlimited and Scribd, so I want to make sure that I'm using both of those at least enough to feel justified in spending the money. And then also reading off my shelf and not. This shelf behind me is one of my TBR shelves, and I have 2 of them, and my goal is to get my TBR down to just that shelf. But I have 2 full ones right now, so it's a work in progress. So I'm really trying to read off my shelf. So the reason I keep those stats is because I feel like those are things that I will make change. I also think it's interesting. I do my average star rating versus Goodreads average star ratings, just because I know I'm a little bit of a hard sell on ratings. I don't give 5 stars very frequently. And so I'm am I really that far off or not? I like to kind of gauge myself that way. So that is what I do there. Number 3, do you give star ratings for books? And if so, what do you rate books of, and how do you come about this score? So I do stars out of 5 because I use Goodreads so much. So I just do stars out of 5. And I have seen so many people who have such great rating systems where they do all these elements and they put the scores in for those elements and then average them. I don't. I just kind of do what feels right. I hate to say it, I'm kind of a mood reader. I'm also a mood rater. I haven't looked at the question, so let me see. It does. Okay, so here I'll explain. A 3-star for me is meh, it's okay, pick it up if you want. A 3.5 is it's better than average. I would definitely suggest you pick that up, but it's nothing exceptional. Number 4 or 4 stars is this really meant something to me. It was really good. I would say definitely pick it up. It is something that I will remember for hopefully more than a couple weeks. 4.5 is it was almost perfect, but there was something slightly wrong with it. And then 5 is this is perfect. Going lower than a 3-star, a 2-star for me is this was not for me. I had to skim it to get through or something like that. I wouldn't recommend it, but I can see why others would. And then a 1-star is this book I don't know how it got published. Nobody should read this. And I almost never give 1 stars. I don't typically DNF. So, there may be an occasional 1 star, but I don't know. I can't even think of the last time I 1-starred a book, because I think that every book has an audience, and sometimes it's just not me. So if I really didn't like it, but I can see the value in it, I will give it 2 stars. So I rarely go below 2 stars. Do you review books? Yes. So I do vlogs constantly. You guys, if you're on this channel, you probably know that I vlog every single day. And the reason for that is partially because I want the memories, and partially because I want, like, in real life, first instinct responses to books. So I do reviews as I'm reading them and as I finish them in real time. I also do my September wrap up, but what I say about the books at that time is pretty brief. So I do reviews that way. And then I also write a detailed review about every book on Goodreads, because my memory is not good. And so if a sequel comes out or something, then I go back to that Goodreads review, and I can kind of jog my memory without having to reread. Next is, where do you put your finished books? So if I own them physically, they go on my red shelves, and I can kind of show you. I'm in the middle of reorganizing, so they're a mess, but I put them on my red shelves. If it is a 3-star, or like 3 stars are kind of sketchy. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they go. If they're higher than a 3-star, I keep them. If they're lower than a 3-star, I unhaul them. So, and then with my unhauls, I just recently got into like a swap group on Facebook. I also will take them to little free libraries. Our library is not accepting donations right now because of COVID, but I used to do that. And we also have a local bookstore that I will occasionally take them to sell them back. How do you pick your next book? And so that is an interesting question, one I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I am a mood reader, and so it's really up in the air. If I'm doing a readathon or something, I will have a set TBR, but having a set TBR kind of stresses me out and like makes me almost like not want to read. I can do it for like a week or so, but anything beyond that just feels kind of suffocating to me. So a lot of times I will think, like, I just recently have been reading a long string of romance and women's fiction and stuff, so I picked up a thriller, and I picked one that was on my shelf. Typically I will go to my shelf first, and then if I can't find anything that's really calling my name, I'll go to digital resources like Libby, Hoopla, Scribd, etc., and see if I can find something there. But I don't do TBRs, and I've been thinking about like doing like big monthly TBRs that are more books than I could ever get to, but then at least I have like a smaller pool to pick from. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to spend the time doing that, or if it would like benefit me or not. Next is, do you have any other rituals for when you finish a book? And no, not really, except that I like to get on and write my Goodreads review before I do any sort of reading again. So like I like to get one book completely out of my head before I start another. The exception is like last night, I finished late last night a women's fiction book. And then in the middle of the night, I was up feeding my baby, and I picked up a thriller. And so those are so completely different that I feel comfortable. But now I have already written this morning, my women's fiction review. And so I can just not be having multiple books in my head, especially right now. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old, and I just don't have space in my head for multiple books right now. So that is what I do. Otherwise, like I said, I don't have a spreadsheet or anything like that. I just go on Goodreads and write my review. Number 8 is, who do you tag? And I'm not going to tag anybody. If you haven't done this and you want to, please share, because I think it's so fun. Some of my best bookish friends are like the stat nerds that have all these spreadsheets. And Karen from Rather Be Reading, she actually shared her spreadsheet with me so I could see. And I was like so envious, and I saved it to say like, okay, I'm going to start doing this. But I have not done it, and I don't know that I ever actually will, but I just think it's so fun to see how other people do things. And people who don't write reviews on Goodreads, I'm like, how do you ever remember anything? I don't know. So that's what I do. Let me know what you do. I will leave the questions down below. If you have a channel and want to do this, please do. If you don't have a channel, leave me the answers down below. Like this video if you liked it. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.